And the interesting thing was all the animals were there together. And nobody was trying to, now by the time the whole herd of elephants got there, some of the others left. But you saw giraffes were there too. And you saw them all sharing the watering hole. And I remember I turned to a friend of mine there and I said, gee, wouldn't it be nice if people could do the same thing? Wouldn't it be nice if Christians and non-Christians and people of different faiths and Baptists and Catholics and African Americans and Hispanics and we that are who are white, we could all share the same watering hole together, and not kind of have disputes over whose hole it actually is. I remember learning that, and I said, boy, I kind of felt like this was about the closest I was going to get to being in the Garden of Eden without actually being there. And so we came back to South Africa afterwards, and we were in Cape Town. And I think I can address your question about Christianity there. And I'm in a Marriott hotel. We came there we did get out of the tents eventually. And we're in the Marriott hotel, and I went to the person in charge, one of the clerks. And I said, you know what, tomorrow's Sunday, and we'd like to go to a local church. And I said, well, there are a Protestant church near. I mean, it didn't matter what church. I just wanted a church. I preferred a Protestant church. And said, oh yeah, there's one not too far away. You kind of go out there and, a little bit of a walk. I said, well, we don't mind walking. My wife and I go out and walk 2 miles each day. So I walked outside, walked out the front door, and there was a church right across from us. And we went into that church. My wife just walked in, so I have to tell her we got started really late. So
just say hi.
Say hello.
Hi. Nice to see you.
So he's asking me about Christian.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You're welcome.
Good.
You're just. Thank you. Talking Jesus Christ. We're talking about Jesus Christ in the marketplace, and Tim has been teaching us more about Jesus Christ. Great experience, great lessons, great capacity we've learned from the old world cross. Tim told us the importance of Jesus Christ in today's world, why Jesus Christ is still relevant in all generations. So we are so happy to connect with him. Thank you. How are you?
Okay. I have to
Thank you.
My groceries, but nice to see you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let me finish the story. So we walked across the street to the church there, which we learned actually used to be a discotheque. And the discotheque closed, and the people came in and turned it into a church. And we walked into what was the third service that day. And we walked in, and I'm in the back, and it's so crowded they couldn't find a seat for us. And finally they said, well, people from the United States, we got to find a seat for them. They brought us up and sat in the front row, and the music was wonderful, and the testimony was wonderful, and the Christian church in South Africa, at least in Cape Town, seems to be strong and powerful and full of mission. And we were happy to do that. That church had probably about 10 times as many people as our church does. But we're all still on the same wavelength of trying to share that gospel message, and that's something else that's very dear to us here in Deer Park. Our church we'll get maybe 55 to 75 in a worship service, and yet we're involved in 3 different soup kitchens here on Long Island, and another one where we have a night where we just make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, make 500 of them, dropping off at a 4th place where people are in need, and we're finding that when we do mission work, it attracts people. It even attracts people that aren't necessarily Christian. because there's so many people that just want to do good things, particularly now after we've gone through this coronavirus and how people are all of a sudden more sensitive to wanting to help each other out, because we found out that's the way we got through all of this. But in Africa, at least in South Africa, the church seems to be doing pretty well.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that awesome presentation, awesome response to the church disposition of Christianity in Africa. I want to ask you this question, the mission work. How can people do mission work very well without getting discouraged?
Okay, well, that's a good question. And certainly, let me just say this. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, and people talked about mission work, the image was somebody that went overseas and spent 6 months in Central America or South America or Africa or someplace like that. And everything was overseas. And it took this tremendous commitment to do this. Mission work today, at least where we are, is there's a lot of local mission work. We're on Long Island. It's a comfortable middle class environment, but there's still plenty of people in need here on Long Island. And like I said, we have 2 soup kitchens that we're involved with. One is in New York City, and that one is an outdoor soup kitchen. And literally, we make all the meals, we put them in vans and take them down to New York City, park on the street side, empty them and feed people and pack them all up. And one time I had my youth group, we were going to do it. It was in January. We packed the vans up and we just started going in. It just started to snow. And by the time we got there, there were 4 inches of snow on the ground, and there was still 50 people waiting for food, even though it was snowing. And then by the time we got home, about 9 hours later, there was 17 inches of snow on the ground. And it's something our group didn't. But even in the midst of this snowstorm, there were people out there. And of course, and the minister in charge, she's been running this particular mission since the early 1990s. And she preaches to them, but she says, you know, if you're hungry, you're not interested in the gospel until we make sure you're not hungry. And if we go out and reach out to them by providing for their needs, they're more willing and more open to listening to us. So there is a need all across this country and all across this world, and even more so now because of this coronavirus and so many people being out of work.